maminaw sa iya, of course sa iyahang i-lecture sa ato. So okay lang, men, ang gusto siguro mag-CR, CR lang mo anay. Oo, and then siguro balik lang ta diri sa sulod. Okay lang ba? Thank you. So si attorney ready siya? Dito ka. Okay, 5 minutes break. Okay, thank you, attorney. 5 minutes break. Sa mga gusto magkuan, magawas or matog CR, sige, 5 minutes break daw.
The name of the Lord is a strong tower for me. I run to and I'm safe. Yeah, there is no where freedom can be found. In the name Whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be saved. Shall be saved. I'm running in. I'm running in.
In the previous mga conference man doon nato, no? In the
Into
previous
the
conferences, if you notice, there are really parts na we come here, we listen to the gospel.
I'm running in.
Men, elders,
But I have no money in the
we tap
bank.
sa barangay to be members of this.
Into the strong
Yun siya.
tower. My family, I'm running for my nation. I'm running
Mabala ka rin sa mga kanina sa kanya. Ano naman na kuhan, lecture ba? Usi, kay sa AMP man, dapat daw protection sa men. Yung naman protection sa women. Unfortunately, ang atong our really laws, we have marami tayong batas really protecting women and children. Ituloy ko yung storya ni Pastor kanina. Sabi ni Pastor, kung mamatay, remember nyo, naalala yung story ni Pastor, DMS? Sabi daw na, ituloy ko lang. Medyo hindi yung storya ni Pastor habang naghihintay tayo sa connection. Wala pa rin. Sabi daw ng wife, sabi daw ng asawang lalaki. And sabi daw ng asawang lalaki, dear, nag-heart attack na yung asawang lalaki.
120 gathered
Gusto ko
in an
mag-asawa ka talaga
upper
ulit. Kabaliktaran, di ba? Ganyan sabi
Wait.
niya talaga. Sabi ng asawang lalaki sa asawang babae, dear, kapag ako mamatay, gusto ko mag-asawa ka talaga ulit. Sabi naman ng asawang babae, huwag mo munang isipin yan. Isipin mo makarecover ka. Bakit yan ang iniisip mo? Hindi, gusto ko talaga kapag mamatay ako, mag-asawa ka ulit. Sabi naman ng asawang babae, o sige, yan talaga gusto mo. So kapag mag-aasawa naman ako, sino naman ang gusto mo? Naasawahin ko, sabi ng asawang babae. Sabi ng asawang lalaki, gusto ko si Pareng Mike. Sabi ng asawang babae, sa lahat ng lalaki ang gusto mong mapangasawa, si Pareng Mike, mortal na kaaway mo yun. Mortal na kaaway mo, yun ang gusto mong mapangasawa ko. Sabi ng asawang lalaki, oo nga, para kung anong klaseng impyerno ng buhay na naranasan ko sa'yo, maranasan din ang mortal na kaaway ko na si Pareng Mike. Palakpak. Doon lang tayo. Actually, ang batas na ito, talagang talong-talo ang lalaki. So, you listen to my stories, dahil dyan lang tayo mananalo. Sa storya lang. Sa batas, talong-talo tayo. O, dyan na. O, sino dito ang takot sa asawa? Asawang babae. Sino ang takot? O, sino ang hindi takot? O, storya na naman. Para hindi tayo inaantok. Storya na naman. There was a gathering ng Alliance Men. Alliance Men gathering, ha? Alliance Men. Sabi daw ni Pastor, assuming si DMS, sabi ni DMS, okay, mga brad, let me see daw, sino dito ang hindi takot, ang takot sa mga asawa natin, pumunta kayo dito sa left. Ang takot, ha? Ang takot. Pumunta dito sa left. Dahan-daan. Ya, para al mga men. So, Sene, kwanto kita registered, Ara? Kwanto kita registered? 160. Hinahinay, 180, 20, 100, 120, until 159. Todo. Ianda na left. Kay todo, tiene miedo na mujer. Correct ba? Todo kayo tiene miedo na mujer. Takigad sila na left. Pero tiyan nilang kat umbilog lang gayot. Tiyan umbilog lang gayot. Ya para ulihi. Ianda kina derecha. Palakpakan ng mga men. Tiyan pakat umbilog. May miedo na mujer. O tiyan pakat umbilog. Abla ko nila 159. Brat, kusa ka dito yung sekreto. Porque lagay berto 160 kita, 159 kami tiyan miedo na mo na mujer. Eto lang gayot. El bukod tangin, may miedo na mujer. Yan dato ali. Palakpakan ka nila. Hablale, Brad, actualmente, alya era yung anda. Pero habla kumigo di mi mujer, aki daw yung anda true love. Kasi alya daw yung anda, gulpi. Che, nalang gali siyempre. Miedo ko nil mujer. Palakpakan. Di mininang alegre ka to. Okay, ready al PowerPoint? Hablangan nyo kung ustedes na istorya lang kita gana. Kasi prinsipya kita ko nilay, perdido ya kita. Na-istorya lang kita, gana. Sige, let's. Tiyan niya, Pastoratin? Okay? May ala atras, para pwede yung mira. Sige, okay. Understand si Kosa best delay. Kosa best delay. Pass next. Okay. Look. Yan. Okay. Aki lang yung element step. Okay, come on, pass. Okay. Now, if you look at this, these are statistics. Statistics say, tabla aki, 11% of women agrees that husband is justified in beating his wife. Tabla na statistic, no? Statistics tells us, hindi man tamo be? Are. Ali ba si Pas? Pero pwede man move, Ali? Okay, sige. Aki lang yung 11% of women, agree sila na okay lang kanina. Or yan argue ko ng husband, or even refuses sexual intercourse. Also, 1 daw na 4 kasaw mujer tan experience spousal violence. Next slide. Now, according to WHO, no, globally, 1 in 3 women experiences physical or sexual violence in their lifetime, mostly by their intimate partner. Now, if you go over this, sige, next slide, pass. If you go over this, pass na lang kita. All of these are statistics. No? Next slide, pass. All of these, 41% never sought for help or told anyone. Sige, next. No? If you look at this, amos el reason porque tiene vausi, porque tiene lay of violence. We'll really discussing, no, what is violence against women and their children, what are the types of violence, no? Amo kita si aprende todo, no? Who considered as an exempting circumstances, kinds of protection order, which is the immediate remedy for a woman who is suffering from abuses. Sige, next slide. Now, what is violence against women? If you look at the law, si mira kita ko ng Republic Act 1962, tabla lay, no, violence against women and their children is any act, yes, with whom the person has or had sexual or dating relationship. Take a look at this. Listen to this. No? Porque man. No? I have experience, no? Mga soldaw, sa mga soldaw, no, I am a legal officer na armed forces, no? Mga soldaw, mga nuevo graduate. So, feeling sila, kuan gayot. No, it has become a scam na Manila. Antes kasi, siya na to na Manila, si man load to dito cellphone, hindi man kuan, tanda to scribble number na, scribble na, kuan, kabar man load kuntigo. So, after to scribble, hi, can I meet you? El soldaw naman, kay Pinsaba, labing guwapo kadli, pumatol. After sila man text, el next time is, talya sila na Sogo Hotel. The following day, the women goes now to Armed Forces, to GHQ, and filing a case for vauci and claiming financial. Manada kat mga soldo pa ka 50 mil. Porque man, tablal vauci with anyone you have dating or sexual relationship. In other words, maskin one night stand lang to, yetsene, kunel muher, that women can file a case against you, korda, against you for, kasi nga, el vauci kasi tiyan 4 kabesa. We'll find out later. Physical, economic, no, sexual, and psychological abuse. So, maaring may tugulpya, pero ablal muher, kwando ya libalay kumigo na sogo, tiyan ka naman ko sa pasan, may kacyo pwede durmi ko, dolok ko ya kacyo kaya besmirch ya kadi may reputation. Can she file for psychological abuse? Yes. With anything, bugbog, sipa, kuga, that's physical. No? Na ara, si abla to sexual, no? Example is forcing the women to watch pornography with you, photographing or video recording the sexual act, committing sexual abuses with the women or her child, that's sexual violence. What about psychological? Este kita nakaproblema, ara. Kasi gariya ka leto, akorda to in channel for psychological violence. What about economic abuse? Meaning, kapag sinabing economic abuse, sa madaling sabi, non-support. Or making your wife financial. Diyan yung mga maridable, according to the law, that's economic abuse. Which leads me to a story. Kaya sila durmi. Story atamin kita. Hablado pare. Hablado kong mujer, si kumpare, sa parte ka chukun mari. Si parte do kodli. Abla si pare, por que man pare, separta ka to dito yung muher. Kaya ba to 30 anyo sa estan hunto, ara pa to separta ko dito yung muher. Nasabi man to pare, kada bes kami mempilahan, si Mare, si Kosa aguanta, gerya sa kumigo, TV, ref, plato, masin Kosa aguanta. Gerya le, TV, ref, Kosa le, kabale gerya. Abla ko nila si pare, 30 anyo ka na ito, aguanta ko dito yung muher. Separtahan, gerya, kigerya kuntigo, hindi to separta ka, para separta to. Abla mo ka na pare, na 30 anyo na gerya kumigo, praktisado yung si Mrs. Antes, hindi tatupa. Ara tatupa yung kumigo, mas kinaondes-konde. 30 anyo, di man practice. Maging pakilaya daw man ilak. That's economic abuse. Alya lang kita na storya kasi ganan siya. Perdido kita ka na, ma'am. Sige, next slide. Ay. Pause yayo. Sige, next slide. Again, no? Ito violence against women and their children. Listen to this. Kasi sabi si women, sabi kita, jatun muher, antes girlfriend. Korda, antes girlfriend. With whom you have sexual or dating relationship. Na question, how many years el prescription delay? No? Pensa to, kasi si abla to sexual violence, 20 years na sa prescription. Kung bagay asya to ara in 20 years, pwede ba si Ma'am File Moyer? Psychological and economic, that's 10 years prescription. Yasya to ara, in 10 years, pwede ba si Ma'am File Moyer? Pensa to 10 years ago, chene ba kung kanya? Pensa. Kahit 10 years and 20 years el prescription. Now, sabi kita, no, si Kwan. Now, ito, no violence against, this one distinguishes now, di ba nantes, sexual or dating relationship. With anyone, the offender had a dating or sexual relationship. So, kosa ba kayo el dating? Kasi baka naman, syempre, si single to. Single. Yung mira to, muher po ko, bonita. Ya catch dito attention. Ya dali to tiyempo. Pero later niyan realize to, doon hindi mga kami click. No? Look at this. Si abla dating relationship refers to a situation wherein the parties live as husband and wife without the benefit of marriage, no? Or, in other words, maskin hindi kasaw, pasok. Klaro. No? Common law partners, no? Live-in partners. Or romantically involved over time and on a continuing basis during the course of a relationship. In other words, may mga sila kasa, pero they are publicly known as boyfriends and girlfriends. May man sila manuto, but they are publicly known as boyfriend and girlfriends or as sweethearts. That is dating relationship. Pero tablaki, a casual acquaintance or ordinary socialization between individuals in a business or social context is not a dating relationship. In other words, yan na party, yan mirahan na party. No, kabar igual yan gustuhan. No, yan iba na next level, el dila acquaintance. Pasok hindi. No? Yali baleman date. Okay lang siya li baleman date. Pero siya li bale na hotel, onde kita pasok? Hindi kita pasok na dating relationship, kahit talya kita na sexual relationship. So in other words, okay lang yan girahan to in acquaintance, yan date to, as long as there was no sexual intercourse. Otherwise, pasok pa rin na sexual relationship. Bakit ba? Sexual relationship refers to a single sexual act which may or may not result to a bearing of a child. Por eso nga tablayo, even one night stand, pasok. Otra kasi el mundo ara. No? Antes, si tayo namora kita, para ver pa kayo, describe to letter, hasta para aguantamano, tormento ba si mga 3 meses ba? Pwede to aguantamano. Aral mga bata, otro yan. Text lang, message lang, kabar. Diba? So we need laws like this. Sige, next slide. Kwento etamen? Storya etamen? Pensa-pensaan ko sa pastorya. Sige, next. Again, no types of violence. So again, next, continue. Hindi, next slide. Next. Para paspas lang. Kabayas 12:45. 12:30 kabayas. Sige, again. As I said, el vausi tiene 4 kabesa. Si physical, no question. Sabi kita si bugbog, sipa, kuga. No, that's physical violence. No questions eh. Sige, next. What about economic abuse? Again, this is making the women financially dependent on you. What about preventing the women from exercising legitimate profession? Is that economic abuse? Yes. Men too, doctor too, you are a successful businessman, and your wife is a doctor or a dentist or a teacher, pero binseloso tu, no quiere tu manda trabajar con el wife. Is that economic abuse? Yes, because under the law, you are making your wife financially dependent on you. That is economic abuse. Exemption, you can only prevent your wife from performing legitimate profession when that profession is contrary to morals, good custom, and good custom. In other words, alam mo na, GROyo, ako na sa to kumigo, GROyo, ako na sa to kumigo, talya na pub. Can you prevent her? Yes. Per se, no? That is. Or prostitute yo, ako na sa to kumigo, can you prevent? That's my profession. That's not even considered a one, no? That's the long one daw. That's the oldest profession in the world. No? Can you do that? Can you prevent that? Yes, because that kind of profession is contrary to morals and contrary to good custom. And your prevention will not result to an economic abuse punishable by law. Again, this deprivation of household property, amoy sablan natin, no? Destroying of household property. So, ilak-ilak yalang at kita, tagiriya kat ka natun, ilak yalang gayot. No? Praktisado ya kalino. Or controlling the victim's own money or properties. Sige, that's economic abuse. Sige, next. Okay, next. Okay na yan. Okay, question. Can ba kayo protected? El question aquí, can ba kayo protected under the law? Children of the abused women, including children under her care. Kapag sinabing children, el anak lang ba dila dos? What about siyan mirahan sila? El mujer siya ni anak na primero. Covered ba el mujer? El anak di suyo na primero? Yes. Even children of the wife of prior marriage or prior relationship is covered by the protection of the law. In fact, even those children under her care is also protected. In other words, iyo, mujer, no, kanin hunto kita, siya ta kuida anak, bata, hindi sa di miyo anak sa di miyo hermana, yalibay ko nese, iyo ko nesta kuida, is that child protected under the law? Covered? Yes. Question, who is considered a children under the law? Under the law, ken el bata. No, basic, ken bata. 17 years old below, bata si. What about 60 anyo ya? Can there be an instant na el 60 anyo bata pal treatment the law? Yes. Under the law, those who are mentally incapable, those who are special children, no, maskin 80 anyo ya se, el treatment delay ko niya se, bata pa siyempre se. And that child is still protected under the law. No? Claro? Claro. Sige, next slide. Okay. Now, who is liable? Who is liable? Husband? Former husband? Naning men, separtahan? No? Again, quanto years el prescription? 10 to 20 el prescription. Boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, father of the woman's child, no? What about lesbian or girlfriends? Yes. Even lesbians can be held liable, no? As long as, because this law is protecting women and their children. So even lesbians can be a culprit, can be a perpetrator in this case. Or any person with whom the woman has or had, again, dating or sexual relationship. Klaro kita na dating pa din na sexual relationship, ha? Klaro kita. Sige, next slide. Okay, so, if this law grants protection for women, there are remedies available for them. And these are protection orders. Okay, gan mga lupon. Gan mga lupon, okay. Mga kwan na lupon. No? Very important ste. No, very important ste. So, kasi el remedy del mujer, siyang bugbog ya ko nele, ako saya, is go to, first one, go to barangay and get a barangay protection order. The question, kwanto beses na pwede sa barangay protection order? Because I've seen cases that, no, I'm sorry ma'am, women are also exploiting this law. Diyan sila properties, no, kaya lang naman atraka ko nel marido, andale sa barangay protection order, kapag si pa-expire el barangay protection order, sakatan la nuevo. No? Sakatan la nuevo, al barangay naman, no, sabi sila, keep on issuing barangay protection orders. So, Protection orders, no? Again, el purpose ka na sa protection order is to prevent further harm. Kasi nga, temporarily, hindi le pwede atraka. No, hindi le pwede atraka kung el family. What will happen now if he violates? No, what will happen? Maskin siya niya protection order, yan bayo kwan pa siyempre. So there is a prima facie case against him already. No, automatically, pwede ko nilaresta because yan violating all protection orders. But there are 3 kinds of protection orders. No, por eso ka na, siya barangay protection order, siya temporary protection order, and there are permanent protection order. Let's try to distinguish that. No, let's try to distinguish that. Sige, next slide. Now, take a look at this. El barangay protection order is issued by the punong barangay, no, effective 15 days only. Ordering the perpetrator to desist from committing physical harm or threat. This is an ex parte proceeding, but kagawad may issue no if the punong barangay is not available. Again, el barangay protection order is only valid for 15 days. Porque man, amo kal this immediate manera para protect ladies yourself. To para ba rin pamanlan na korte? Man file el kaso. So go to barangay, get a barangay protection order that will give you 2 weeks to prepare the case and file the case. Kasi siyan file ya 12 case, pwede ito pwede na korte ara temporary protection order. Kasi el temporary protection order, el korte ya katan issue, hindi el barangay. No? Again, an ex parte proceeding, in other words, no, hindi anisita, lama pal barangay kung el dos party before leman issue kung el protection order. On the bata, pito protection order, laman ito marido, bugbuk ya ganes eh. Lama pa to kung el di marido. Diba? Ex parte proceeding, dapat man issues eh. But sino ay si kapitan, pwede naman si kagawad on duty. Klaro, amos el barangay protection order. Sige, next. What about temporary protection order? Issued by the court on the day of the filing. Again, another ex parte proceeding. It is priority over all other cases, but this is now effective for 30 days. 30 dias eh. Por eso nga, hindi kita pwede man-exploit, no, el mga muhe, na andalya na barangay cover on the 14th days sa kahit Nuevo. No, because the barangay protection order is only valid for 15 days. That is enough time for you to go to court and file the case and seek the necessary temporary protection order. No, hindi pwede maulit-ulit na barangay. No? Okay, sige, next. Permanent protection order, again, issued after notice and hearing, priority over all other proceedings such as election cases, habeas corpus, and cases against children. Now, the difference with this is, no, ta-notify ako nel respondent, el korte. Because there will be a hearing for this before the court will issue a permanent protection order. No? A permanent protection order. Sige, next slide. Okay, what is really protection order? Kusta bakit el epekto deste protection order, no? Number 1, prohibition or from threatening or committing personally or to another any acts, no? Or prohibition from harassing, no? Or removal and exclusion from residence regardless of ownership or temporarily permanently where no property rights are violated. In other words, no? El purpose lang kasi si Alman maritable kasi tan pailahan normally ko sa next usually. Anak, proper rights between the children and properties. No? Diyan sila kotse, diyan sila motor, no? So, initially, si Janito Protection Order, por eso ang tablakan nyo contigo, el scale del justice really, on this law, is really tilted favoring women. Anyway, kung yan file sa kaso na korte pausi, the court will also rule upon sa mga issues di ilan na properties, no? Sa mga issues, if that matter is alleged. No? If that matter is alleged. Sige, next. Sensya ka, no? Paspas lang at kita, kay you only have, kwanto minuto lang yun, Chen eh? Chen pa, kaya pa. Next. Ito, take a look at this. A protection order directs the law enforcer to accompany petitioner to the residence, ensure possession of automobile and other personal effects, supervise respondents' removal of belongings, permanent or temporary custody of child, support automatic remittance of salary, and directing the DSWD or other appropriate agency to shelter and render social services. So, si mira to kanal protection order, piece of paper lang kasi, pero grande dis epekto. No? Grande dis yung legal effect. Kasi, halimbawa, ito, barangay tanot to. Ya, kore contigo al mujer. Alya, kwan. Sige lang matudayan, bla, bla, Sa kayo mga motor ala, sa kayo kotse ala na kasa, sa kayo di mga gamit. No. Por eso gani man seek anay protection order because that will give you authority. No, si barangay tanod to, si konsehal to, that will give you authority para pwede to sigi kunel muher to secure at least yung mga papers and effects. No? So, careful. Puwera lang, tsenebes, si in flagrante delicto. No? What is in flagrante delicto? Akil ba, actual gayot, kapitan to, konsehal to, barangay tanod to, yapasa to na kasa, tagulpia agad kunel muher. No? If you are a person in authority, pwede ba to, diba, kanya, apasigwaya? Yes, because that is on the act. Pero, no, if on another occasion, securing of personal effects, securing of documents, no, advise the women to secure first protection order. That will give you an authority, no, to accompany the women to secure his papers and effects. Sige, next slide. Now, este question. Who may file protection order? So, bugbog ya kadal muher. No? Vowsy is a public crime. Cosa manara, no? Vowsy is a public crime. Cosa que quiere decir? No, it is a public crime, no? It's as if el crime is to not only to the victim, no, but to the general public in general. Por eso gani, si bugbog ya kadal muher, no pwede labanta pagila pa lang sa protection order. No, the law allows alternative. Ken pwede sa protection order if the woman is really hindi akat capable. So ken offended party number 1, el biktima, pero pwede tamen el parents or el guardians, no, del mujer. Pwede tamen el ascendants or descendants within the fourth civil degree of affinity or consanguinity, social worker, pwede police, no, punong barangay, lawyer, or at least yung dalawang chismosang kapitbahay. Pwede. Reason? Vowsy is a public crime. So sinuway sa mga ariba, maskin tiyan lang to concerne, chismosa, bisinos, tauwi gulpyaw yagatu, they can go to barangay and get protection order. El requirement lang del ley, 2 bilog. Hindi ito related kunel biktima. Claro? So, pwede se. Sige, next slide. Now, take a look at this. Sir, kakita ka ba? Battered women sin. This is a case of people versus Maribig Henyosa. In this case, in the middle of the beating, gulpi ako nila, niya pwede le lansa. Niya pwede le mata ko nila siyo husband. In her defense, he claimed that she was suffering from battered women syndrome. Thus, an exempting circumstances. Porque man, if you look at the revised penal code, tiyan nila mga exempting circumstances. Self-defense is number 1. Ha? Exempting circumstances. Kosa sa epekto. Kasi dapat to exempting circumstances, maski niya matatu ko sa tuyase, it's as if nuay to crime ko sa kumete. Kaya exempting circumstances, may man to criminal liability. So self-defense is 1. No, self-defense, no to criminal liability. What about defense of a stranger? Defense of a relative? That is self-defense, considered self-defense. No to criminal liability whatsoever. In other words, hindi ka tumampreso. In this case, Ablal Muer, I am a victim of battered women syndrome. I do not know what I was doing. I was only acting in defense of myself. What did the Supreme Court says? Yes. Supreme Court says, a woman that is suffering from battered women syndrome is a valid self-defense, thus an exempting circumstances, giving her no liability whatsoever. Claro? So, pwede. Naara, question. Ablal marido, tang claim galebo kay battered women, chenebo battered women, chenebo tililing el kabesa. So, ablal marido, tiyempo ya. Chene kita anak, andi na korte, ablayo kay, may man sila mata kumigo, pero tabla le kay battered women syndrome le. So, el custodia del anak, taki kumigo dapat, kay ele chene malitiling. Can he do that? Husband? Supreme Court says, no. In no way will the court give custody to an physically abusive husband, maskin battered women syndrome pa el wife. Maskin keda pa sa local wife, the court will give custody to the relative of the wife, but never to the offensive husband. Claro? Sige, next slide. Okay, so duties of the barangay officials and law enforcers. Duties? No. Again, enter the dwelling whether or not protection order has been issued. Again, exemption, general rule, dapat sa kakatan nila protection order. Pero sa tambugbog kaya siya, mira ito tambugbuhan, kebrahan karaya, anda pa to sa protection order if you are a barangay official? No. That is in flagrante delicto, no? What about confiscate deadly weapon in possession of in plain view? Chenele pusil, chenele kwan, kutsilyo, sakay to se. Only exemption, only rem kwan, dapat in plain view. In other words, hindi habla to, este si troublemaker man na barangay, sabi to kay chenele revolver. Chenele ka revolver. Na ora kwan, buska katwalya na kwarto di so, hindi pwede. Only those in plain view. Oh, transport or escort the victim to a safe place or clinical or hospital. Assist the victim in removing personal belonging from the house. Kasi amo sa issue por pirmi. Blan marido, ay sale-sale mo kinakasa. Na hindi mo pwede saka. Hindi mo mga ropa. Sale-sale na kasa. Hindi pwede saka el cellphone, el laptop. No, because by virtue of this, it is out of the obligation of the barangay official to assist the victim in removing personal belongings in the house. No? And ensure enforcement of the barangay protection order, temporary protection order, and the permanent protection orders. Now, arrest without warrant. Kuando pwede? What about arrest without warrant? General rule, pwede lang kita arresta, especially si law enforcement o kanu, siya kita mga retired police aquí. General rule, pwede lang kita arresta, siya kita warrant of arrest. But there are instances na pwede to arresta without warrant. Largo ka exempt na nila, pero for purpose of vauci, este lang. No? Kasi si mira to kung revised penal code, manadala exemption. Example, yaskapa na preso, pwede ito kuhi ko na ese, maski may warrant. Or ya mira to, para man, offense, para man commit ya, tirale, amo palang yatira, pwede ito sa arresta ko na ese, maski may warrant. But for purpose of vauci, pwede lang to arresta when the acts or violence is occurring. That's sucediya, in plain view, in flagrante delicto. Or, when he or she has personal knowledge that the abuse has just been committed and there is imminent danger on the life of the victim. In other words, no ito alya na suseso, pero takore kung tigol mo alya onde ka del black eye, amo palangat ko niya gulpya, anda pa to sa kawarat? No, pwede to arresta ko niya si. Kaya mo pala mga susede. Diba? Pwede si arresta. And again, immediately report or call assistance of the DSWD or LGU or social workers. Sige, next. Sir kay kayot, pwede ita kami. Take a look at this. Penalties for failure to report. No? Barangay officials or law enforcers who fails to report the incident shall be liable for fine not exceeding 10,000 pesos, no? Or may be criminally or civilly or administratively liable. Sige. Next. Again, take a look at this. Prohibited acts. Barangay, hindi sa pwede asi ha? Hindi pwede. Number 1. Barangay official or the court hearing the application for protection order shall not order, direct, or force in any way or influence the applicant to no mediation. No? Depende kanila. Sige sila. Pero nung matobla, nga misis. Aregla lang kita kuneste. Amo mga sa pirmi na barangay no? Which is tama man gayot. Kasi el role gayot del barangay is really for mediation. Amo kat el role. But not in vauci. Not in vauci. Prohibited se. No? All other cases, el role barangay, mediation kasi. But vauci, hindi se pwede. That is a direct prohibition of the law. Hindi pwede. Klaro? Mga na barangay ha? Sige. Next. Now, eto. Exemption from criminal liability. From liability. No, any person, private individual, police, no, or barangay official, no, acting in accordance with law. Por eso kanin way to criminal, civil, or administrative liability. Ang assisted ko na muer, sa kadisoy magamit, pero yang bunot kung tigo bolo, al marido, no, pwede tamen to, asagwan, no, exemption in criminal liability. Pero, dapat kwan tamen, case-to-case basis lang tamen. Halimbawa, tanwaras al marido, yahala lang le, palito or garote, kabartagwan to M16, yan rat-rat ko na limukan, hindi kel pwede. No? It should be commensurate. Commensurate na kwan. No, it should be commensurate. Dito pwede man rat-rat M16 ko na marido, kaya halalang le ihala lang palito. No? Also, those who respond or intervene in the violence, they are exempted from criminal, civil, or administrative liability. Sige, next slide. Again, rights of the victim. Right of the victim, no? Rights to be treated with respect and dignity, legal assistance from LGU, no? Por eso kani, el barangay dapat man-refer agad sa dayon na DSWD because there are assistance available to them. No? There are assistance available to them. In fact, si man file sila, you normally tan-advise ka dyan ng mga women, you go to CHR. No? Si Chani kita mga sabi ang sina. No, you go to CHR because CHR is really equipped on cases on violence against women. May ito ko sa Gastalya. Andalan to naman na rate ko sa pasa contigo, liba to dito yung certificate of marriage, life birth del mga bata, or other documents proving your union. No? CHR will do the rest. Or DSWD. No? Because that is really provided by the law. Sige, next. Counseling treatment, no? I don't know if this is really done. Ang masal problema kasi kanato natin, no? Natin legal system. Our congressman is really kasi pa sa lay, pero no imang kita enforcement mechanism. I'll give you an example. Driving under influence of liquor. Kasi tamanihan na tumaw, tabla lay, the first thing si law enforcement mira si manihale tumaw, tan swerving, kore, kusasi, manda para, kabar, man, alcohol breath test. Tamira ba to police yan itakarga alcohol breath analyzer? Porque man, hindi man tan pondo el gobyerno diaton. As a lay, tabla lay an sina, pero no may pondo para man enforce. The same with this one. No tabla, rehabilitation, pero ba, no man pondo, no man program really for rehabilitations. Sige, next slide. Very important. No, confidentiality of records, especially those who are working na barangay. No, court records, barangay records, no, these are all confidential records. No, no ay si otro ken pwede pidi ali, si hindi social worker, DSWD, el biktima themselves. No, so you should treat this with really confidentiality, with high confidentiality, para hindi sa mga problema. Because violation may result to an imprisonment and a fine not more than 500,000 pesos. So, dapat sabi kita, no? Sige. Next. Kabayaga. Next. Kabayaga. Common questions. Sige. Next. Este. No. My husband has been cheating on me for over 3 years now with various women. Is there a way I can apply for violence against women filing a case against my husband? Yes. So, no, the acts of your husband in cheating on you, what kind of violence? No? Result to mental or emotional suffering. So, kung sa klase, 4 kabesal sa LBIC, kung sa klase abuse, that is a psychological abuse. Sige, next. My boyfriend has been hurting me every time we sexual relationship. Hindi necessarily kasaw el dos partner. Because with whom you had dating or sexual relationship. Sige. So, my ex-husband has stopped giving me and our daughter support. What kind of abuse? What kind of abuse? Economic abuse. No? Sige, very good. Sige, next. I have been in an abusive relationship for quite some time. Can I file a case against him considering his abuse? Kabar, dali at man regalo, dali at bouquet, irregular. Because tablalay, bausi, maybe one act or series of act. So, hindi abla ka irregular, bueno yung liara, dali tayong flores, dali tayong chocolate, kabar alaman niya, nagulpya tamin. No? Pwede. Sige, next. I'm a lesbian, and I have been in abusive relationship with another woman since 2009. No? Can I file a case against her even though she is a woman? I am a lesbian, no? Tablaki? Tomboy, no? Or kwan? And I have been in an abusive relationship with another woman. Pwede? No? Again, no? Even lesbians can be a perpetrator. Provided el biktima, mujer, o anak, or children. Sige, next. I am a husband who has been mentally or verbally matakaya marido. No. Era marido. Okay mga marido gulpiyaw pirmi. Negatsikin man amin. No? Pwede ba? No. Na history del mankind, uno pa lang at ombre yagan na muher. Uno pa lang gayot. Sabi sa skin, si Johnny Depp pa lang yagan na. Sabi ka si Johnny Depp, akil artista na Pirates of the Caribbean, kailan file le kaso kung akil, no? LL biktima, no? So yan award ko nilal korte multi-millions, no? So aral mga Pinoy, no, maskin mga ombre, maskin gulpyo yagat say, hindi man siya na file kaso kasi abla, diba? Si Kaya del dito ego, man file to kaso. But, can you file another case? Yes, pwede naman. You can go to court and file a case for physical injuries, serious physical injuries, attempted murder, attempted homicide, but not for vowsy. Pwede naman. Pwede man file kaso, but not for vowsy. Sige. Next slide. Amen. Again, can a husband? Pwede ba? This is a case. El husband. Pwede ba file case? No? There's a case, 2023. Tiyan sila, talya ko si mujer. Naara, el mujer, ya tiyan otro marido, el biktima, tasa pasipala ko liso anak. El liso mujer, refuse, kay ben kere kung new partner, no kere man file case. Here comes the husband. Can the husband, ex-husband file a case? In this instance? Pwede o hindi? Pwede. ¿Por qué? Porque el biktima el bata. That's the only instance that the husband can file a case for vowsy because el biktima el bata. Sige. Next. I have 3 minor children with my husband. No, I wish to file a case against him. What would be the impact upon my children? Especially if he asks for custody. No? Again, very basic naman stay. Custody of minor children, namuha si 7 el bata. Custody el mga el bata. Pasa minor el bata, 7 years old below, namuha si. Again, even if you are battered women syndrome, the Supreme Court has already ruled in that case, anante, no, that custody, no, of children will never be awarded to an abusive husband. Sige, next. I've been running in fear from my husband for 3 months because he threatened to kill me. What can I do? Again, what's the best thing you do? First remedy, you go and seek a barangay protection order. No? Barangay protection order. Sige, next. As a battered woman, is there a chance I might lose amoy sa nantiablano? No. Even you are a victim, even if you are suffering from battered women syndrome, the court will always award custody of children to you. Si kaya katulo ka, no? Supreme Court says, in no instance that custody will be awarded to an abusive husband. Hindi kayo. Dahil sa na relative pa to, pero never to an abusive partner. Sige, next. Imega, if custody of my never that custody will be given to an abusive husband. Imega? Okay? Again, what can happen if new supporter covering pending case, no, violates or report on TV? Again, sabi nga nante, it can be, no, cases on vowsy is treated with strictest confidentiality. And he can be liable and be imprisoned for 1 year and a fine not more than 500,000 pesos. Pero so careful kita. Sige, next slide. Hey, Mega. Okay, so hotlines. Okay, sige, next. Okay, next. Next. Okay, all right. May question about si. May 12-13 lang ha. 12-13 lang. Sige kuya, question, go.
Lalaki ang kabit ng kanyang mister. My question is, what case may be filed against her husband?
Well, the law does not make that any distinction. If you look at Bausi, it does not make any distinction. As long as you can prove that your psychological abuse is caused by your husband having an affair with another man, you can still file a case for Bausi. But, no, the difference is you cannot file a case.
Okay. So qualified ang concubinage. Now the kabit is lalaki. So what might be the case? Maybe filed against his husband.
Bausi. You can. Because again, the law does not make a distinction. If you can prove that the cause of the psychological abuse that you're suffering is your husband having an affair with another man, Bausi pa rin yun.
Number 2 question. Kung nang babae man si Mr., this is ground or basis ba to file annulment?
Okay, that's a good question. The Supreme Court now is, maganda na yung ruling ng Supreme Court sa annulment cases. I had the opportunity to hold few annulment cases, no? Now, kasi if you look at the Supreme as a civil code, there is only, isa lang, why kita divorce, di ba? We have no divorce, except if you are Muslim. Pwede, sa PD 1083 for divorce. So, let's go back to the civil code. There's no other ground for annulment, only Article 36, which is psychological incapacity. Question, is habitual na pambababae? Is it psychological incapacity? The Supreme Court ruled in several cases that is not a psychological incapacity per se, but it is the manifestation of a psychological incapacity. In other words, habitual drunkardness, abandonment, having multiple wife or having multiple partners, all of this, taking all in consideration, are all manifestation of a psychological incapacity. So, pwede yon. Pwede pa rin.
Third question. In support, up to how many, ilang edad ang up to support ng husband sa kanyang anak?
Now, ang anak, no? This is a good question
Support
also.
na, support.
18 dapat. But no, years old, graduate sa college. Correct? Ara, 20 anyo, talya pa na college. No? Those are things that are old lang. You need to support. But in several instances, the Supreme Court have ruled, as long as the children are incapable of supporting themselves, dapat suporta pa el parents. In other words, itendra pa sa eskwela, nuwi pa sa trabaho, no? Dapat suporta pa el parents. But general rule, dapat 18. But, no, with the ongoing K-12, yes kada, 20 anyo at entra pa eskwela mga bata. But similarly, in other cases, the Supreme Court have ruled, no, for as long as the children are still incapable of supporting or providing for themselves, the obligation of the parents to support their parents exists. So, mas
Thank you,
22
attorney.
na yan. Sige, go ahead, kuya.
Thank you, attorney. That will be all.
Thank you. Sige, question. Question pa? For frustrated homicide. Sige, go, ganinong. Okay. Si Lucky. When the wife went to States, find another Americano, and filed a case for divorce, ala divorce. No? Divorce, ala. So, ala, because in the States, there is a divorce. Tiyan lay for divorce. Pwede man divorce. You know, for many, many years, lugi gayot el Pilipino kunese. Porque man, Pinay to aki, in the meantime, yan, dali Amerika dito ikuan, yan, divorce kundigo, yakasay ala. In the meantime, aki na Pilipinas, no pwede to kasa because under the law, you're still legally married and you cannot remarry. Otherwise, bigamy. But many years ago, the Supreme Court have ruled already. Sabi ng Supreme Court, teka lang. Pwede yan. So, what you can do now, if you're a Filipino here, yan divorce ya kundigo, what you can do now is you go to court and file a petition for judicial declaration of a foreign divorce. Amerika di mi mujer, takil mga papeles as ay divorce, file annulment. Correct, the same. You go to court and file a petition and you convince the court that there was already remarriage there. You prove na yes, iyo contesta nino nga?
Pastors present, can you officiate marriage if unseen ang situation? We don't have annulment, Noitamen divorce at yung annulment. Pero na ipa rule na ipa man grant kanila annulment.
Annulment.
Kabarkere kasa man officiate ba el pastor?
Oh, question ha? No ipa-annulment, seniya kadaykualan. Kadaykualan seniya, pero no ipa-mananal. Will pastor... Yes, por eso gani ara si Tadale Kasa, kosa man tapidia kita sen. You know what? Na soldaw, pin manada ka ara akel mga muriel soldaw. Kapat akel muher. Tres bilog muher, todo sa certificate of marriage. Kaya antes, kuan lang man. Kumbaga, soldoyo. Kasayo ak na kasa. Por eso, tres bilog ken mga soldaw. Retired soldaw, alsa mano. Oh, tres bilog muher, takasa. Ara no pwede mas, kaya tapidi akat, kuya akat kalaya todo, mas inya kasa to. Sige, go, kuya.
Okay, I would like to, ang mag-asawa ay pwede sa barangay with marriage contract.
Ara, maridable. Bida, iyo di mio chanion bida. Can you do that? Family code, marriage is a special contract of permanent union between a male and a female. Listen to this, ha? Its effect and cosa que quiere decir. El casamiento, you cannot do that. Stipulation or agreement. Hindi pwede. Por eso hindi pwede bla kumpiyansa ito bla. Arregla kami sa barangay. Arregla kami sa barangay kung may kami pakialaman. Kwento, story ata. Kita story ata, men.
Law, he cannot do that as good as bigamy. Ya andale na Muslim, kasama ka ng Muslim? Sharia court. Bigamy kel. Na this is the law.
Okay, kuya. I will explain that. Again. Go ahead.
Akal kay sa daliki, kay diso yung muher, ya anda na otro lugar. And then, ya kosa na otro. And then under their American law, US law, problema ara, akin na Philippine law, no hay annulment, no hay divorce. So, el problema liya, bottom line, citizenship, na he has citizenship na Amerika. And when he will file Philippine citizenship na Amerika, man-investigate ko na si Chinelik case na Pilipinas. Na sinuay ang sina investigation, corrupt el gobyerno.
Okay, that's a common misconception. Okay, kasi manada ka ta sinatase, kasayo araki. Kabar ko sa to ase, araki ka to kasa otra vez, manbalik Islam yo. Para pwede yo kasa otra vez. That's a very common misconception. Listen, kosal reckoning ali. What is the reckoning? El reckoning ali, onde ba to una ya kasa? In other words, siyo Muslim yo. Muslim yo ha, Muslim yo. Kabar di miyo, ya kasayo na kwan, Muslim yo. Pero el mimi muher kung inyo ka sa Kristiyano, maru. Ablal mo rin, hindi. Pwede man kita kasana sandigi, pero kasanay kita na judge. Kasanay kita na judge. So, kasa una na judge, and register, kabarya kasana sandigi. What laws govern your marriage now? No, it is the civil law that governs your marriage, maskin Muslim pa to. In other words, maskin Muslim pa to, pero siya kasa to una na judge, siya kasa to una na pastor, siya kasa to una na padre, can you remarry? No, because your marriage is governed by the civil law and not by the Sharia law. In the same manner, si Kristiyano to, pero yakasa to una na Sharia. Kabar later on yakasa to na judge. What law govern now your marriage? The law that governs your marriage is PD 1083. Can you get divorced? Yes. So, most common misconception. So again, por eso ka na iyo pirmis, tataka kumigo pidi kumigo advice, si Muslim kumigo tapidi advice, ablayo, you go to Sharia first. Si kere to kasa otra vez. Pero si Kristiyano kumigo tapidi ko advice ka partner si partner husband, no obli ko nali, you go to judge first. Because that will not allow your husband to remarry maskin Muslim pala.
Excuse me.
Si.
Mandali yung case, no? Di mo anak. Ese di mo anak, yan,
now, they go to Cotabato and file deletion of marriage. Not all lawyers know this, no? Tabla kasi pilitan 83, si both parties converted, meaning masinya kasa sila na padre, na pastor, na kwan, pero if they will make it appear, kay sabay sila yan convert, tan revert nila marriage as if yakasa sila under Sharia law. Pero sa pwede sila man file divorce. But not all lawyers know this, no? That's, sige ko kuya. That's good. That's a good question, kuya. There's a good case on that. Kasi ang question ni kuya, it's about child abuse. Republic Act 7610, child abuse. Kasi nga ni, kuya, I remember my mother, siya ni un maestra. Sorry ata Wednesday. Nato lang at kuya. Kayo, di naman sila kunambre. Siya ni un maestra, prinyadali, cover you, I was a baseball player that time. Yan, cutting class kami. Buliga kami na eskwela, 4 kami ang sino. Cutting class ka mo, bla si Ma'am Brown, sampali ka naman, pak, bira pa, pak. Sabi mo si Diminana, liga na ka, sabla si Nana. Yan sampal do como si Ma'am Brown. Si Mang, come. Kabar bo come en plasta. Kay nuay maestra, sa kanyo sinti dueles, nuay kamo kulpa. Na pero aral mga bata ko saman. Gulpya lang tumpoko, child abuse ya. 7610 ya. El question di kuya, ya pega lang tu, nabuli. For example, palito lang, nabuli. Is that child abuse? Is that child abuse? Ken tabla yes. Alsamano, ya pega nabuli. Ken tabla no. There is a case, Bongalon case. Ablal Supreme Court, no? For it to be considered as child abuse, it must be something that demeanors the child. It must be something that, kasi bahaw ko ng bata, kaya silang katuhuya ko ng bata. But a simple discipline, pega to na bully, pega to na mano, it's not child abuse. Okay? Tanda, por eso al mahal Diyos hindi tamali. Yo personally, as a father, tapega ka siya di mi anak. Kung sa Bible, if you spare the rod, you will spoil the child. Basta pega to na bully lang tamin. Makila kabesa, onde-onde, na child abuse skill. Pero si pega lang to na bully. Okay na. Ablasik press, pwede daw.
Thank you, attorney. We will... I apologize kasi parang lagasan ng ore kita. And we still have to plan. Si Pastor Patrick will have to plan ang atong going out. No? Mag-sure watches. 1 p.m. balik ta diri. Okay? We'll have a quick lunch. And then after the quick lunch, nakon man, nasatisfy man ta, no? I'm sorry for those who were not given the chance. But I would like you to be back by 1 p.m. And si Pastor Patrick will talk about church growth. And then he will be the